This video was recorded and written before the release of Sonic and Shadow Generations, so any new lore information from that game will not be in this video. Thanks and enjoy the video! Hey guys, this is Cool Bean Soup. I'm here to talk about the Sonic 3 movie before it comes out this holiday season in December. After the Sonic 2 movie was released in theaters, we've heard that Jim Carrey was retiring. But there was a news article released back in February on the Variety website stating that Jim Carrey will reprise his role as Dr. Robotnik for the third Sonic film. There was even a short audio clip of him laughing towards the end of the Sonic 3 movie teaser trailer. It's very exciting to know that Jim Carrey will be in the third Sonic movie, because I really enjoyed his performance as Dr. Robotnik in the previous films. Originally, I had a few ideas of how the Sonic movies could move forward without Jim Carrey. So, after hearing the news, I had to change my script for this video. I also read another online article made by Screen Rant, released in 2022. The Sonic 2 producers stated, Jim Carrey will not be replaced if he retires. But what if the Sonic movies could move on without Jim Carrey? I came up with a few ideas for how the Sonic movie franchise could work without Jim Carrey after Sonic 3. Now let's get started. Number 1. Dr. Robotnik reborn as Dr. Eggman. After the events of the second movie, Gunn searched for Dr. Robotnik, but they never found him. It's either he's dead or missing in action. Since it has been confirmed that Dr. Robotnik will be returning in Sonic 3, let's still explore with the idea of a what-if scenario of Dr. Robotnik possibly either dying or missing in action at the end of Sonic 3. After the events of the second movie, Stone, Robotnik's lackey, somehow finds Dr. Robotnik, who is barely alive and is at the brink of death. Stone is devastated, but quickly remembers what Dr. Robotnik has told him. If something bad were to happen to him, he should take him to a secret laboratory located in a deserted, abandoned building where no one can find them. Once in the lab, Stone puts Robotnik's body into one of the egg chambers. Dr. Robotnik made these egg chambers in advance, just in case if Robotnik was severely injured. Stone types something on the supercomputer and preps the second chamber. The machine scans Dr. Robotnik's mind and makes a copy of it. It then transfers his mind into the second egg chamber. Once the process has been completed, the second egg chamber slowly opens, and there's smoke coming out of it. Dr. Robotnik steps out of the chamber. Stone is shocked and bewildered at what he sees. Dr. Robotnik? Said Stone. Dr. Robotnik shakes his finger. We briefly see his new form. I am no longer Dr. Robotnik. I am Dr. Eggman. Dr. Robotnik has returned as an android, but still looks human. His voice and appearance have also changed. He changed his name to Dr. Eggman to avoid any suspicion from Gunn that he has returned. For he has been reborn. Or, like he would say in the movie,
I've been rehatched!
This idea is similar to what happens in the Archie Sonic comics. In issue number 50 of the Archie Sonic comic, Dr. Robotnik dies from an explosion. Later on, in issue number 75, somewhere within Robotropolis, there lies a secret underground laboratory. In this laboratory lies a chamber room that has several pods, filled with robotic bodies, each one sporting a different design. The computer transfers his copied mind into one of these robotic bodies. Dr. Robotnik made this secret chamber in advance just in case if something bad were to happen to him, and that he could continue his reign of terror on Mobius. His mind goes into the last robotic body, which happens to be the form of Dr. Eggman from Sonic Adventure. Now, this might contradict a statement from the Sonic 2 producers stating that Jim Carrey will not be recast if he retires. Another idea would be if Jim Carrey does return in a future Sonic movie, Maybe instead of having Robotnik having a copied version of himself as Dr. Eggman, they could have two Dr. Robotniks introduced in a plot twist. Specifically, Jim Carrey's Dr. Robotnik, who will be missing in action, and the other one, Dr. Eggman, will be from another dimension. Somehow, they would wind up meeting each other and team up to defeat Sonic. This did happen in the Archie Sonic comic in issue number 108, where they did meet each other for the first time. By having these alternative options, the directors could still keep Dr. Robotnik around if Jim Carrey decides to return, or have a different actor play as Dr. Eggman from another alternate dimension. Number 2. Dr. Eggman Nega. In Sonic Rush, Dr. Eggman Nega was introduced. He is from the Soul Dimension, an alternate dimension where Blaze the Cat is from. I know they kind of changed this continuity in later games, but this is the Sonic movie universe, so they could just have him either be from the future or from an alternate dimension. Anyways, if Dr. Robotnik dies in the third movie, they could show Dr. Eggman Nega and Blaze the Cat as a teaser for the fourth Sonic movie. The movie starts out with Sonic and friends having a good time until suddenly, through some crazy events, Sonic and friends wind up in an alternate dimension, the Soul Dimension. It would be nice to see Sonic travel to another world rather than stay on Earth. At some point, he meets Blaze the Cat. The story will be similar to Sonic Rush's storyline, and will focus on Blaze and her world. Later on, Sonic thinks he sees Dr. Robotnik causing trouble, but realizes it's not Dr. Robotnik, it's Dr. Eggman Nega. They could also tease Silver the Hedgehog at the end credits, or maybe he could be introduced early during the movie. Now, as for who will play Dr. Eggman Nega, maybe another famous comedian? I'm not sure. The studio could use movie magic makeup that makes the actor resemble Dr. Robotnik, with a few slight differences in facial features and costume. This could be another way to introduce Dr. Eggman Nega without needing Jim Carrey to return. Number 3. Black Doom. Since this is the cinematic movie universe of Sonic, the directors of the Sonic films have taken some creative liberties to alter the story from the video games, like how they changed the origins of the Chaos Emeralds and the Master Emerald, and changing how the Echidna tribe were fighting the Owl tribe instead of fighting Chaos. Originally, I had Professor Gerald Robotnik as a potential villain for my third idea. However, when the Sonic 3 movie trailer dropped back in August, it showed Dr. Robotnik meeting his grandfather, Professor Gerald. The movie has some changes to the original story of Sonic Adventure 2. Professor Gerald will be the villain in the Sonic 3 movie, which is actually exciting. But there's one little problem. Professor Gerald will also be playing by Jim Carrey, which kinda throws out my idea out the window. Specifically, the idea of another actor playing as Professor Gerald Robotnik. If Black Doom doesn't show up in the third movie, they could have him be the main villain for the Sonic 4 movie instead. The plot will be similar to the story of Shadow the Hedgehog. As we know, Professor Gerald created Shadow, with the help of Black Doom. Black Doom partially helped in creating Shadow by providing his own DNA. However, he does this under one condition, that Professor Gerald gives him the Chaos Emeralds to teleport the Black Comet and the Black Arms to invade Earth, so that they could enslave humans and harvest them as an energy source. Black Doom states that he will return in 50 years to invade Earth. Once he's gone, Professor Gerald prepares for the alien invasion by creating an Eclipse cannon and using Shadow to defeat Black Doom and his army in the future. 50 years later, Black Doom and his army invade Earth. It's up to Sonic and friends to stop Black Doom and his alien army from invading the Earth. Shadow will be the main focus in this movie since he learns more about his past and discovers he was partially created by Black Doom. Let's say Shadow gets amnesia at the end of the third Sonic movie. In the fourth movie, Shadow tries to remember his own past. Who is Maria, and who created him? Black Doom takes advantage of Shadow's amnesia and tries to persuade Shadow into joining him. Black Doom tells Shadow if he wants to learn more about his past, he should collect the Chaos Emeralds and then he'll tell him more about his past. Shadow would feel conflicted and not sure what to do, so he decides to collect the Chaos Emeralds for himself and not Black Doom. By the end of the movie, he gains back his memories and learns the real truth. Shadow uses the Chaos Emeralds to become Super Shadow, and goes to defeat Black Doom once and for all. In the meantime, Gun, Sonic, and his friends join forces to fight off the Black Arms alien army. Once Black Doom is defeated, Shadow uses Chaos Control on the Black Comet, and teleports it close to the space colony Ark. The Ark then fires the Eclipse Cannon and obliterates the Black Comet. The world is saved, and everyone celebrates. Depending on how the third movie handles Sonic and Shadow's rivalry, perhaps their relationship will be better in this film, that they've gained a mutual respect for each other, but still remain rivals at the end of this movie. Now, as we're introducing new characters for the film, perhaps they could introduce Rouge, Omega, and Amy in this movie. Or maybe even Metal Sonic. That is, if these characters don't show up in the third movie. It would be nice to see these characters in the movies, so that they could gain more recognition and further expand the Sonic movie universe. Number 4. Neo Metal Sonic. If Black Doom isn't the main villain for the fourth movie, then maybe Metal Sonic could be the main villain instead. In Sonic Heroes, he was the main antagonist of that game. He had a more evolved form called Neo Metal Sonic. He would learn and copy the data of Sonic and friends of their abilities and strengths. He even rebelled against Dr. Eggman. The plot would be similar to the story from Sonic Heroes. The story begins with the Earth under attack by Dr. Robotnik's mechs, but Dr. Robotnik is nowhere to be seen or found. They still think it's Dr. Robotnik behind all of these attacks, although Tails has stated Dr. Robotnik went missing a few months ago. Perhaps this would be a good opportunity for the movie to introduce Team Chaotix in the movie. After all, Team Chaotix is known for doing detective work. They could help solve the mystery of what's been really going on and who's behind these attacks. It isn't until halfway into the movie that we learn that Neo Metal Sonic was behind everything. He tells Sonic that he was created by Dr. Robotnik. Dr. Robotnik created Metal Sonic to be a perfect robotic copy of Sonic. If something bad were to happen to Dr. Robotnik, Neo Metal Sonic would become active and will take Robotnik's place on taking over the world. Halfway through the movie, Neo Metal Sonic is successful in copying everyone's abilities. During the climax of the film, Neo Metal transforms into Metal Overlord. It would be so cool to see this boss fight on the big screen, especially seeing Team Sonic going super. Sure, Tails and Knuckles didn't get their super forms in the game, but wouldn't it be cool if the movie had the whole Sonic team going super? That would be very epic to see. This would definitely bring a lot of excitement and hype for the film. Number 5. Mephiles the Dark. Mephiles was the main villain in Sonic 06. He was the manifestation of Solaris, the sun god. In the past, Solaris was experimented on because the Duke of Soliana wanted to manipulate time using Solaris' time abilities to benefit mankind. Unfortunately, things went completely wrong. There was an explosion, causing Solaris to split into two beings. One side was Iblis, the flames of disaster, the raw power of Solaris. And then there's Mephiles the Dark, the mind and will of Solaris. Shadow sealed away Mephiles into the Scepter of Darkness, whereas the Duke of Soliana sealed away Iblis inside the soul of his daughter, Princess Elise. Mephiles would use and manipulate the characters in this story to get what he wants. to reunite with Iblis to reform Solaris. He took advantage of Silver's naivety. He tried to torment Shadow. He actually did something that no other Sonic villain managed to do. Killing Sonic. If Princess Elise ever cries, Iblis would be released from her soul. Once Iblis is released, he will bring chaos and destruction upon the world. By killing Sonic, this would emotionally affect Elise, because she has spent so much time with Sonic throughout the story that she developed a connection with Sonic. Ever since she was a child, her father told her to never cry, no matter what happens, which would be a very difficult thing to do, but somehow she miraculously manages not to cry, until now. Now, as for Dr. Robotnik's involvement in the story, he kidnapped Princess Elise because he wanted the power of Iblis for his own benefits. He learned about the events of Project Solaris, and that the soul of Iblis was inside Princess Elise. I'm not quite sure how the movie version could work without Jim Carrey. Let's say they do manage to find a way to make it work. Perhaps Dr. Eggman Nega could be a potential stand-in for Dr. Robotnik? Unless the directors decide to cast Jim Carrey as Dr. Eggman Nega for a potential spin-off movie or TV series. Well then, I guess they'll just have to come up with something else instead. But what if Neo Metal Sonic were to show up instead of Dr. Robotnik? We could have Neo Metal Sonic and Mephiles in the same movie. The plot will be somewhat similar to Sonic 06. The A-plot focuses on Neo Metal Sonic taking Dr. Robotnik's place. He also tries to obtain the power of Iblis for his conquest of ruling the world and defeating Sonic. Meanwhile, the B-plot focuses on Mephiles, orchestrating his time-traveling plans into action, and tries to reunite with Iblis, so that they can become one and recreate Solaris. At some point in the movie, Sonic meets Princess Elise, and they develop a friendship with each other. Unlike the game, where they end up developing a romance, for the movie, it will be friendship instead. This would be a good opportunity to introduce Blaze and Silver into the movie. Seeing as how Mephiles tricks Silver into believing that Sonic is the Iblis trigger, he tells Silver, in order to defeat Iblis and save the future, he would have to travel back in time to defeat Sonic. During the movie, Shadow and Rouge would accidentally release Mephiles from the broken scepter after having a scuffle with Neo Metal. Mephiles leaks out of the scepter and dives into Shadow and would take on Shadow's form. Mephiles thanks Shadow for freeing him. Of course, Shadow has no idea of what he's talking about. He doesn't even know him. At least, not yet. Because Shadow hasn't traveled back in time at that point to seal away Mephiles. Later, Silver is fighting Sonic and tries to destroy him. Suddenly, Shadow intervenes, allowing Sonic to escape. Shadow and Silver duke it out with each other until they both perform Chaos Control, which opens a time portal to the past. They both travel back in time to learn more about Project Solaris and the true origins of Mephiles and Iblis. Halfway into the movie, it shows Neo Metal Sonic and Mephiles teaming up with each other. Neo Metal expresses to destroy Sonic and rule the world. He also wants to obtain the Flames of Disaster to gain more power. Mephiles actually agrees with this plan. He tells Neo Metal that they're gonna need the 7 Chaos Emeralds in order to make this plan successful. This way, Mephiles secretly gets what he wants by having someone else do the dirty work for him. Later on in the movie, Mephiles successfully kills Sonic. Princess Elise cries, triggering the Flames of Disaster to be released. Once they've obtained everything, Mephiles betrays Neo Metal and steals the Chaos Emeralds for himself. He reveals that he wishes to reunite with Iblis, so that they can reform as Solaris, and to completely destroy time itself by devouring all timelines. Shocked, Neo-Metal states that this wasn't part of the plan. Sure, he was willing to defeat Sonic, but have all timelines be destroyed? What's the point of ruling the world if everything gets destroyed? He tries to fight off Mephiles, but Mephiles defeats him with the help of the Chaos Emeralds and the powers that he absorbed from Shadow. Now with Iblis finally freed, Mephiles and Iblis have become one to form Solaris once again. Solaris warps reality and plunges the world into darkness. Princess Elise, Sonic's friends, and Neo-Metal are caught in a time-space distortion caused by Solaris. Neo-Metal reveals Solaris' plan to the others, that he wishes to snuff out everything and consume all timelines. Things seemed hopeless, but Silver refuses to give up, and that there's gotta be a way to stop Solaris. Princess Elise senses Sonic's presence, and believes that Sonic is still alive.
Well, it just so happens that your friend here is only mostly dead. There's a big difference between mostly dead and all dead.
She believes that Sonic can still be saved. They just need to collect the Chaos Emeralds. Through a montage, the characters collect all the 7 Chaos Emeralds, while avoiding all enemies and obstacles that stand in their way. Afterwards, Sonic is revived and becomes supersonic. He then shares his power with Shadow and Silver. The power of the Chaos Emeralds flow through them, transforming them into Super Shadow and Super Silver. The 3 Super Hedgehogs go and fight Solaris, so that they can defeat him once and for all. Once Solaris is defeated, Sonic and Princess Elise travel back in time to prevent Project Solaris from ever happening. They come across the true form of Solaris, a small flame. Elise feels hesitant to blow out the flame. She expresses that she doesn't care what happens to the world and doesn't want to forget about Sonic because he means a whole lot to her. Sonic simply tells her to just smile. She does so and slowly blows out the flame. Then the events that happened during the movie are erased. Mephiles is wiped from the timeline. It would be cool to see this story in a Sonic movie. However, I am aware that the story of Sonic 06 was not perfect. It definitely had some plot holes in the story where certain things were either not explained or contradicted itself. The story definitely needs a rewrite. It had the potential to be a good story. However, it wasn't executed very well. On the bright side, this would be a perfect opportunity for the movie to fix those issues, and to make the story even better. Number 6. A brand new villain. If the writers decide not to go with the ideas that I mentioned earlier, they could create an original villain that's exclusive to the movie universe of Sonic. Maybe they could create a female version that's related to Dr. Robotnik. She could be his sister or cousin. This way, we would have some sort of Robotnik in the movie universe. Or maybe just have a villain that's their own character and not related to Dr. Robotnik. If the writers come up with an original villain, the villain must be at least memorable, fun, and can be a threat to Team Sonic. Or just have the character be very threatening. The character doesn't have to be exactly like Dr. Eggman. They could have their own personality to stand out. Some of you are probably thinking, what about Stone? Couldn't he be a potential replacement for Dr. Robotnik? Well, I'm not quite sure. The way he's portrayed in the movies, I don't think he would work as well as a major villain. Unless, during the third film, he goes through a drastic change to become a more diabolical villain. Otherwise, I don't see how he could work as a main villain. Unless he goes through a major character arc where he feels conflicted of whether or not he should be a villain or not. I honestly don't know. It's up to the writers to decide on what they want to do with Stone as a character moving forward. And that's about it. This video took a long time to make because I've been busy on and off with other projects and other real life stuff. I had a lot of fun making it, yet at the same time, it was kind of a pain doing a lot of research. Not to mention writing the script, proofreading the script, rewriting the script, and trying to hunt down those comic book pages that I needed for this video. Also, doing a lot of re-recording of myself reading the script without making any mistakes and without sounding monotone was very hard to do. If there were certain details from the games or comics that I missed or got wrong, I apologize in advance. I just wanted to share these ideas on how the Sonic movies could move forward without Jim Carrey. It would be neat if Jim Carrey decides to keep playing as Dr. Robotnik. Or maybe a cameo appearance. Or we get a movie where Dr. Robotnik creates Sage and we see the father-daughter relationship like we did in Sonic Frontiers. So what do you guys think? Do you think these ideas would work in a Sonic movie? Are there any other ways that you think that the Sonic movie franchise could move on without Jim Carrey? Or do you think it would be difficult? Do you think there will be a Sonic 4 movie or not? Please let me know. I'd love to start a conversation about this topic. Have a great day and thanks for watching.